Hey guys, welcome back to the Richard Fernando Investing channel. For starters, you've got to know that your trim is horrible if you resign to wearing one of these bad boys in a video. Yeah, the haircut's not looking too good. But today, back to, I guess, what I hoped to do when I started this channel, which was to talk about Australian stocks as well, and stocks that I'm watching going into August of 2020 and beyond. I mean, I've been watching these stocks for the past couple months, but I guess right now I see even more incentive to do so. So without further ado, just a quick introduction to the channel, because hopefully we'll get some more Aussies into this video. I mainly cover US stocks, but anything that interests me kind of does end up coming up anyways. Any kind of advice I can give as well, I try and pass on. As by ways of introduction, I'm a student here in Sydney studying finance, but this is of course not financial advice. Yeah, and I mean, investing for me is a huge deal because this is my key or my pathway to hopefully being able to study my master's abroad, well, in Sydney, but then abroad hopefully in an exchange semester. And so I've always been saving and investing to help make that dream a reality. And you guys, by ways of commenting, subscribing, liking, are also helping me reach that dream. Okay, so ASX stocks for August. I'm going to start with Brainchip Holdings, BRN. So this is one that me and my closest mates have spoken about here and there, just because even if I try and explain to you who they are, it's almost impossible for me, just with the limited size of my brain, to fully comprehend how groundbreaking the technology is, and also to be able to communicate exactly how it works. But I'll do my best to tell you what the company is in my eyes, and for me it is the best, or the only really, Australian pure play on AI. And that's super important because I think it's a space that everyone wants to be in, but there's not really much opportunity to do so on the ASX right now. And so Brainchip BRN is one of the only, if not the only way to go about that. Again, pure play, so you get that pure exposure to what you want to be invested in. You know, you don't have some sort of legacy business that you also have to kind of resign yourself to being invested in as well. And what they do is they create what they call an Akita chip. That's the name of their chip. And it's a neural processor, a very low power, kind of spike-based AI processor. And they work with huge companies in terms of trying to produce this, and the actual names that are involved with this company are huge. So they work with people like SCION from Japan, Taiwan Semiconductor, they're huge as well. And the actual applications for a low power AI chip, it's very interesting. But to start with, they're competitors. They compete with people like NVIDIA in the US, IBM, Intel. So these are all huge household names and obviously multi-billion-dollar companies. But here we have Brainchip, right now valued at about 250 million Australian dollars. So still a long runway for growth, but they're working with huge companies. Yeah, they're working with people like Ford, for example, over in the US. I believe they were working with them somewhere in Detroit, but I could be wrong. But the idea is that hopefully these people, this company, Brainchip, will be able to employ their low power consumption technology to hopefully bring Ford, I guess, back to the pack in terms of, or ahead of the pack, in terms of AI tech in cars and autonomous driving. So they're hoping to find those applications for it. But from what I can understand, there is a wide array of applications for this tech. And look, I mean, when I first looked into the company, I was very inclined to just say, too difficult to comprehend. I mean, wasn't fully confident in investing, knowing that I'm not an expert in AI, for example. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the majority of investors would not be a complete expert in AI either. You've just got to hopefully be able to understand, I guess, the business itself and the fact that this is 2 decades in the making. Watch the About Brainchip video on their website, and hopefully you'll be able to understand that there is a wide array of applications here, and hopefully there's a good runway for growth, especially with, I would assume that the Australian government and the Australian general, I guess, investment community would back something like this because of how groundbreaking this tech can be. So definitely worth a watch and worth a deep dive if you're interested. Okay, so stock number 2 is, well, you're seeing these gold bars here. They're not real. I wish they were. Yeah, would be quite nice. But a gold stock that I'm watching, which is Australian, although not based in Australia, is Tesoro Resources. TSO is the ticker symbol. Now, before I get into the company itself, why gold? Well, I mean, with all the stimulus packages, with the US printing money, naturally the gold price has been going up, moving up very strongly. We're about to hit $2,000, which is unreal. And I can see that continuing. I can see that with all the announcements of further stimulus, potentially the US giving more money, an Australian government giving more money to citizens, basically devaluing the dollar, and gold is seen as the general hedge for that. So naturally, as someone who is not as interested in owning actual gold, I want to own an actual company that's hopefully going to benefit from this news. Tesoro Resources is a natural choice for me, based on a few reasons. So I got in quite early, not going to lie, I'll put that out there straight away, as transparent as can be. I got in at 3 cents because I got in during the RTO reverse takeover phase when they listed via Plucker Jewellery in Western Australia. But why Tesoro? Apart from just the idea of wanting a gold company, I picked this one because still relatively low in terms of valuation. So they're valued right now at about $60 or $70 million. But, and of course this is very speculative types of companies to be looking at. But I like the fact that they're in a tier 1 location, they're in Chile. Being Chilean, of course, I am extra critical when I'm looking to invest in a Chilean company, mainly because, it would be stupid of me to just invest in companies for the fact they're Chilean, for example. But why do I like this? Because I feel like, from what I've read on forums and whatnot, that people see Chile and get a bit worried, get a bit nervous, because they don't really know what to expect. But in terms of a mining jurisdiction, I don't think there's many better. The Chilean government, I'm actually living with someone right now who has worked in lobbying and that sort of industry in Chile. And everyone bends over backwards in Chile for mining companies. Like, that's just a fact. They rely so much on mining, usually lithium and copper, but it's just made, in terms of a legal structure, it is made for allowing miners to do whatever they want, really. And the company itself is sitting on, well, according to Pack Partners, is sitting on 1 million ounces. I think it was 1 million ounces, or 1 MOZ, yeah. Which would leave it at a fair value when compared to other companies. Would leave it at a fair value of 16 cents per share, which is roughly where it is right now, or just under right now, as I'm recording this. But that takes into account the conservative estimate, the most conservative estimate for how much gold they actually have. There's likelihood that there could be double, triple, if not quadruple that amount. And I do want to give a quick shout out to a few people on the Hot Copper forums. So Trechikov, Hateful Eight, and Bella Venner. If you look for their posts on the Hot Copper forum for Tesoro Resources, 10 out of 10 stuff. These guys actually just put in so much work, obviously for themselves, but also for other investors in Tesoro. And it's absolute gold, mind the pun, haha. Mainly because usually Hot Copper for me is just, it's not the best. It's just a piece of crap, really, most of the time. So it's really refreshing to have guys like these who are just putting so much good due diligence in and sharing it with everyone. Yeah, definitely recommend having a look. But tier 1 location, gold at all-time high, or looking to move to all-time highs. I mean, it's moving well, gold moving well. And then they're close to a great source of water as well, at 20 kilometers away from the Pacific Ocean. I think that the cost to actually get this gold out of the ground will be lower than most of the comps. So if you look at the Pack Partners research that they put out, a lot of that research is super conservative, of course, with the 16 cent rough valuation. But they're also comparing it to companies where they're more likely to have to spend more to actually get the gold out of the ground, get water, all that sort of stuff. Whereas, yeah, Tesoro, good spot. I mean, everything looks positive. Of course, it's still super speculative. So definitely, if you're looking at a gold stock to add to your watch list, I would add Tesoro. Have a good deep dive. There is definitely a lot of good signs in terms of good management with great past or great history in terms of experience, Zeph Reeves, whatnot. But as well, I noticed yesterday, or was it today? Early this morning, a Chilean investment company or Chilean investor randomly decided to plonk about $700,000 Australian dollars into the stock after this run up, which is insane to me. Just because, I mean, it's been sitting so low for a while, but it tells me that this man probably knows something. I could be wrong, but just the way business works in Chile, I have a strong inkling that this guy who's invested under SCION, I think it was, Holdings, I think they're the third largest now in Tesoro, having over $1 million worth at this point. I think that there is a likelihood they know something, and if they don't, it is still a great sense of security knowing that Chilean investors are looking at this Aussie listed stock and saying, yes, they're in a great spot in Chile, location wise, geographically. They have a great team, I believe in them. I mean, I think it's a good sign of confidence going forward. And I mean, I couldn't do an ASX video. Third stock, I am going to just mention the whole buy now, pay later section. I'm kind of sick of reading about them a lot, but I just did a big assignment on Afterpay on their capital structure, which was why I didn't record a video last week, because I was just grinding that assignment for so long. Actually, I did a comparison. I did a side-by-side comparison between Afterpay on the Australian market and StoneCo on the US market. StoneCo, if you don't know, I have done videos on them in both my stocks I'm watching videos for July and August on the US, in the US markets, so you can check those out. I've already uploaded those. I might do a dedicated StoneCo video, but buy now, pay later in general, I mean, I'm just looking forward to earnings. I'm looking forward to earnings. I want to see the general trend they're heading in, and I want to see how, for Afterpay, I want to see how their expansion's going, and I want to see how their kind of debt facility work is going. Just because I'm at a point where I'm just interested as to how long the whole equity issue scenario will keep rolling on. Yeah, I don't think existing investors will like it if they do another. So I'm just very eager to see how the market reacts to their next funding decision, if they do need funding. Oh, speaking of funding, back on Tesoro. Sorry, before I go. Tesoro has a decent amount of cash as well, so they've done a raise quite recently. And their price never really took a huge hit. They did the classic, you know, prices at a decent level. We've been climbing for a while. Let's get this equity raise done, you know, the highest price possible. So that's what they did. Yeah, so Tesoro again, sorry to jump between sectors or stocks, but Tesoro is looking good in terms of security in having the money to go forward. But before I go, yeah, back to buy now, pay later. Definitely just a space to watch. I mean, it's impossible not to watch these when you're in Australia. You hear about it from absolutely everyone. My one, I guess, worry is there are a lot of people that are jumping in right now completely blindly. And I mean, I'm not one to bash these stocks either. I think that they're a great sign for the Australian market going forward, that we can compete in a kind of fintech space. I think that's great. I think that we should back our own. But I'm a bit nervous just because I'm seeing companies like Square, for example, start to market and advertise a lot more in Australia. And the moment that they switch on to the fact that there's an opportunity like this, it would not surprise me if Square decides to try and do the same. It's also the same as Commonwealth Bank, for example, being partnered with Klarna, or Flexi Group is another decent one that have their own kind of buy now, pay later system. I just think that the competition in the space is huge, so it's high risk, high reward. Afterpay, for example, I think we'll need to finance a decent amount of money, keep going, just to be able to get that market leader status solidified as all this competition comes into the sector. So this next year or so is pivotal to see who comes out on top. Obviously, Afterpay and Zip seem to be the big ones right now, the kings right now. But attacking that US market and the UK market are essential going forward, so we'll see how that plays out. But if you like the video, if you like the fact that we've got another Aussie on YouTube talking stocks and money, leave a comment below as to what videos you want to see going forward. Whether it's, I don't know, how to save money in your 20s, that sort of stuff. Happy to do all that. But cheers for watching the video, and be sure to like and subscribe.